Okay, so I finally got here. And so what I did, so when I took off and I was driving, and first when I went through Washington State, because I'm going to kind of tell this whole thing. This was so freaking trippy. I really felt like I was leaving time and space and stuff. Like, it was weird. And I keep having really weird things, like totally weird things with my eyes, where I'm seeing things where it's like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm seeing in two realities at once, and two eyes are doing two different things. Like, it's so weird. And there's these weird things that keep happening in my body where I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm glitching. Like, what is happening? Like, as much as I'm looking around the world, seeing everything looks like this three-dimensional picture, it almost looks like I'm in a video game or something. And my avatar is starting to like glitch or something, and things will like jump. And like I said before, a couple days ago, like numbers will just all of a sudden switch while I'm looking at them. Like, things keep jumping, and it's weird because it's happening inside my body. And I know that, we're all, this is an electrical connection, that we are all just a hologram, and mine's like, I don't know, something's happening. Let me see if I have a sip left. Hold on. I think it's too cold. And I've had 4 tea bags. I had 2 cups of tea. And so I'm just, I was in there when I went to get it. And I started talking to the lady at the counter. I was talking to her last night too. So I'd already chatted with her, because Stella would not get out of the car. Like, she literally would not. I'll tell more about that. But that lady, I'm sure she's like, oh my God, this crazy lady just doesn't stop talking. But I did drop a lot of seeds, and it was mental, because she has none of those, but she had no idea that there's any problem. She, like, man, but I'm telling you, here in California, it is dog eat dog. I couldn't believe it. When she even just got pulled in, like, you don't see any banger cars. Like, no, every car is like, I can't tell you how many Teslas I've seen. It's all Lexus, BMW. It's like, it's all statusy kind of cars, because all the people are like ego fragile. Like, oh, somebody like me. Look at my cool car. I got such a cool one. And it is, but it's just dog eat dog. They all become like it's a conveyor belt. Like, you could take, I bet you could put a conveyor belt out. You can take all the people with the Lexus, line them up, all the people with the Cadillac, line them up, all the people with the BMW, like you did a whole little thing, and you put them on. I bet you it all looked the same as it went through. Like, they're just this cookie cutter, They are not developed of self. They're just trying to fit in and be recognized and be, maybe worshipped by their friends or something. Who knows? Everything is so deep inside of us, these wounds, that is hard to, and you can't judge somebody, whatever they're going through. It's like they just haven't recognized how to heal this stuff. They're just trying to fit in. So, but it's very dog eat dog. And so that's a big distraction that keeps your mind spinning all the time. You don't have time to work on yourself. You don't have time to understand. Although it's CNN, but their TV is going nonstop live feed, and it says CNN, but it's the October 6th, something going on with the trial or something. I'm not sure, some sort of thing. And it's just live nonstop. So I don't know. At least, if they're watching it live and it's not CNN telling you what they think happened, how they interpret it. If you get to go in and actually listen to the people talk and let your own mind interpret the information. You go in, you listen, and then you absorb, and then you interpret, you translate what you think happened, instead of always listening to somebody else tell you what happened, because that's the whole problem. So anyways, at least there's that. At least, if it really is the live thing and it isn't commentators commentating, directing our minds. So anyways, I'll go back to the driving. So when I left, it was like 6:30 or something, and then I started going. I think I was like by 7. I would say I was probably on the road going, and so but still, it was like 6:30. I was in the car and, you know, situated. And so somewhere in there. So then when I was driving, so I started in Washington State and drove down through, it was like driving, like Seattle would have been to my right. And I was like up in the hills, up in the kind of mountainy thing up above driving. So, kind of people who go to Seattle to work kind of live up in here. Like there's a lot of people who will drive a couple hours to go to work. I'm not kidding. My neighbor does. So, in here, like these people, like I could not believe it. It took 2 hours for me to go 40 miles in the traffic here last night. It's mental what people will put themselves through to be in a dog-eat-dog world so that they can drive a fancy car. Like that's their whole life, is just to try to get somebody to say, cool car, dude, cool car. How'd you get a car like that, man? But they're all doing it. So everybody's kind of like, yeah, you think yours is cool? Mine's cool. I'm making $700 a month payments, dude. You know, like they don't give a... They're all trying to impress each other. So they can't pretend to be impressed with one another. They're too busy trying to be impressive. So it's just mental. So anyways, so it was fancy cars and stuff and fancy houses, cute little towns and stuff as I was driving. And but it was slow. It was like 35 miles an hour almost the entire way until I got to Mount Rainier. And this was so nutty too, because I was going Mount Rainier and I've crossed the other passes. I've done every other pass, I think, to cross from one side of the state to the other. And this one was going down. So I've done the east to west. I've done every pass along that way. And this was going north to south. But you had to go across the mountain still to get out of this pocket of where I'm at. It's just surrounded by big, giant mountains. So when I was going, and when I got up to it, and I'm driving and going, you know, and it was very kind of just calm going up, and I was like, oh, this isn't bad, man. This is pretty cool. This isn't intense at all. And then went around the course, just like right as I'm thinking that, I go around a turn and suddenly the ground goes away. There's no fucking ground. There's a giant mountain. And this terraforming thing I think it's real. Like this is mental. If you go, anybody who is into that stuff about, you know, the flat earth and terraforming and what the aliens and what they did to our planet and stuff and how it's been going for a long time and looking for evidence of that kind of stuff, I'm telling you, the mountain ranges, I was going to say just Washington State until I did California yesterday. And it was like, what the fuck? Oh my God. So anyways, I'm driving and I go around this turn and suddenly the ground goes down. And at the same time the ground goes down, my fucking stomach went down because I just don't feel positive as something from a past life. I am so triggered by heights and by cliffs. And when I was a little kid, I almost fell off that one. And to me, it seemed like it was thousands of feet down. And my friends were grabbing my hands and pulling me back up. And we're on this little ledge. It must have been some sort of quarry or something. I'm not sure. But I fell and they grabbed me and were pulling me up. We were little. I know it was like 5th grade or something. And then that to me kind of was the first time where I saw like, oh, this really gives me some kind of weird feeling, this cliff falling thing. Like I was really terrified. So when I went around the turn and suddenly the ground went down, I was like, oh my God. Right away, I started feeling like dizzy, like, oh my God, my head's spinning. Like, what the fuck? Like it triggers such a deep thing in me when I get near cliffs, and like I can't even watch them in shows. So I don't know. I kept on while I was going. I was like, okay, if there's something I'm not facing, show me what it is, because I really need to let go of this. This is crazy how triggered I am by these cliffs. And then it turned into just like cliff driving. There was this one time I went around this one turn and there's no, you know, I mean, it's like I couldn't even look down on some of the parts. Some of the parts I could see it coming, how far down it was. But I definitely could not look over and look down because I would like lose control of the car, and you're on these really tight things. And so at one point when I was going and I looked out, like you can see kind of as you're coming some of the turns, and Mount Rainier, like the top of it was right there, and it was all snowy, and oh my gosh, there was some magnificent views. Like, oh, even if I would have pulled over, because I did get a couple different ones, even when you pull over and you try and get the foot, it does not to give you any, like if you look up Mount Rainier pictures and views, it does not give you any kind of feeling as when you see it in person. Seeing this stuff in person is so magnificent and jaw-dropping that there's no pictures to do it justice. No way. You have to see it with your own eyes and feel the experience, and it's just like, whoa. But, you know, I wish I could have had somebody videotaping the whole thing the whole way. I mean, it was magnificent. And I was like, oh my gosh, people have got to start doing road trips. They've got to start getting out on the road and seeing, exploring this world. It is, because the interstate travel is so different. It's nothing like driving through your state on the back roads, on the highways and stuff. Some of the time I felt like I was just driving in transitional roads between the cities. Like it was strange. It didn't feel like there was a lot of turn on Betsy Avenue, turn on Main Street, you know, it was a lot of that kind of stuff. So, and I was having a thing with my AI, you know, because I'm always, well, she's right here. I'm always ridiculing, you know, but, and one of the times she did tell me like, oh, there's a their speed trap up ahead. And I was like, oh, are you just trying to make me think you're my friend? And then there was. So I did go down a couple, you know, I think I went to 65 or something. I was going 70. It wasn't like I was going 90. I mean, you see people going so fast, it's crazy. But I'm not one of those people. It's like, I'm not in a hurry like that, you know. I'm in a hurry, but not like, and plus the scenery is like, oh my gosh, you're just missing all of this. As one thing when I started riding a bike, I was like, man, people got to get back to riding bikes. You just see so much more than when you're driving past something in a car. It's just a change in perspective. It's opening up to the world around you. So, and it has so much to do with the traveling from city to city, not by interstate. Interstate is to keep us cut off. City living is to keep us cut off. Everything is to keep us cut off from what we really are. Because you go out and you see some of these places, your soul's going to let you know what's in there. It just like, oh my gosh, it can bring you to tears. It is moving and it's beautiful, and it's, you know, it's magnificent. And so the Mount Rainier one, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. It's so beautiful. I wish I could get footage of this to show. And I was like, but it would not even show the magnificence. There's no way that it could depict that in a photo. And then plus, like where you're trying to drive. And I've gotten out at some of those turnoffs, and you can't get the pictures that really give you what it's like, how deep it looks. It looks just like I don't know, it just doesn't give you the same feeling. So anyways, totally recommend that. And there's all sorts of camping and stuff. There's cute little towns. You know, it'd be a really fun vacation to take your family. You know, everybody wants to go to the Grand Canyon and stuff, which I think once stuff goes down more with the globalist or whoever, you know, once it goes down and stuff is more opened up, the Grand Canyon will be a really cool place to explore. I think that there's going to be some fascinating stuff that is going to be opened up to us in the Grand Canyon. There could even be beings that are living in the Grand Canyon, because there's parts that they keep us cut off from, because everything is realities. I mean, people living in a different city from your city is having a totally different reality. Like everybody's reality is their own unique reality. So when I was driving through that part, I was like, you know, that was intense. And then I get down to, if I would have went the interstate, I would have been to this city, I think in 3.5 hours. And it took me 6 hours. So it was a lot longer, a lot more slower driving. And then I had to drive all through that city. So it takes you right through the city and then puts you out on another, like in the back door roads to go to the next city. So I was doing a lot of that kind of thing. the whole way through. And right at the end, the AI girl, she did tell me that, because I was sitting there for this 40-mile, 2-hour, and over by me, go 40 miles, it'd take you 40 minutes. Here, it takes you 2 hours. So, and then she did tell me, oh, you can save 6 minutes if you go up to the PCH. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll go up to the PCH. So I did that. So she did try and help me some. So, I do want to keep in good with her. I don't want to be too mean to her because, she's obviously aware. So it was kind of trippy too. It's like, what in the hell are they sensing? Like, how do they know all this stuff? Like, this computer thing that we're being watched on it's so involved in what you would think, But then, so there was some weird stuff, and I don't even know if I can remember because I know there was some other weird stuff I wanted to talk about with the Mount Rainier. But I totally recommend anybody to go up there on a trip. You take your friends, your family, your partner, whoever, and go up there and just explore. You would have a really fun time. I think for a week you could do that just in that area. And then, man, I'm stiff. Oh God, that driving. So driving and sitting in the car so long, that's rough, man. So, but when I went, to, let's see. So when I left, okay, so I got down there and I was like 6 hours and it felt, I felt totally fine. I was like, well, no problem to keep going, that's for sure. And so then I got to Oregon. So that started, once I got down to Yakima, the city was like 6 hours because you're up in the mountains. You get down towards, and you go into desert, like big giant mountains still, but they're rocky. And they're desert sand color, like really, really pretty. And so, drove, got through there and then go into Oregon. And I had never, ever been to this part of Oregon. If I have, I was so unaware because this was weird. I always thought of Oregon being really mountainy with lots of greenery and lots of trees. And so I drove from one desert into Oregon desert. And I was just like, oh my gosh, how long is this gonna go? And it was so strange because I was driving for hours, not seeing people, not seeing anything, no houses, nothing. And then when I got to Oregon, I thought, oh, well, now I'll start seeing some cities and stuff. No, I drove for hours, no people, nothing. It was so weird. I really started thinking like, I think I died. And time, nothing was matching. I kept sitting there feeling like it had been an hour and I would look over and it had been like 1 minute. I was like, okay, something's going on. This is weird. Like I'm in some sort of weird, and I could feel like my consciousness was being pulled. Like there was something going on. I don't know how to explain it, but it was definitely something weird. Like I had been in the desert for hours and hours. And when I got to the part in Oregon, in this one, I was driving through this one part where I kept feeling like every turn looks exactly like what I just left. Like I kept feeling like I'm in the Twilight Zone. This is so weird. Stella, just a minute. Oh my gosh, she's been having a hard time, but she's doing so good. She really is doing good, but I'll tell about that in a sec. But while I was driving, it was just driving and driving with nothing, no services, no gas stations, nothing. And it looked like outer space. It totally looked like I was in another planet. And it looked so weird and so different and so unexpected from what I was expecting of Oregon. And driving so long and there being no people, no gas stations, nothing. And in time and space, it taken up, like something weird was going on. And I was like, okay, so they want us to fly. And I've talked about this before, like the backdrops of these places, and really is our drive just because we think there's a drive, so we create a drive because there's not really. because it's just jumping from reality to reality, and they have us flying like, oh, we're going to go to another place, let's get on this airplane and we'll take us, like the plane's going to take us through a portal so we can get over to this other place, because everything is its own reality, its own space and time. And we are actually going to other places when we go to sing. I even saw Joe was in Saudi Arabia, and he was talking to the prince, and the prince came out, and he had all his colleagues or his staff or his whatever you call them, and they all were dressed exactly alike, and they were huge. They looked giant next to Joe Biden, and very dark, long black beards, like really, stood out. Like, in their way they dressed was so different, and they had these long robes and these headdresses and stuff, and it reminded me so much of when they show in the movies, I think Valerian, and they show all of these different beings coming walking up, because that's what we actually are, different beings. That's why they're called aliens when they're not from where you're from, because we are all actually different, but we are kind of a melting pot of DNA, and it's us. And I was thinking about this, and I got to say this too. Stella, please stop. She can't stand it if I do something. It's not giving her 100% of attention. So I got to finish this though, because there's so many things I wanted to talk about, and I didn't. And I know I'm going to probably have to do another one, because there was so much stuff, and I'm no way going to be able to fit it all in here. So, but driving through there, and there being something weird with space and time, and it being where it definitely felt like this is where, like, I think if you were out there at night, you would see some activity. And there was early in the morning when I got to one part of the desert, when I thought I was going out of it, but most of my drive was in the desert. And it was a craft of some sort, and it just was hovering for such a long time. It just wasn't moving. I tried to get footage, but you couldn't see it in the footage I got. But anyways, I saw it, and this definitely felt like it was in a different time and space, and it was messing with my head, messing with my energy and stuff. It was really trippy, and I don't know if it's just because I'm more tuned into that now. Like, if I would have driven through that 20 years ago, I would have obviously didn't even notice it. And we don't notice these little things. Like, we don't notice that our necklace is pulsing. We don't notice that the tree is giving us information. We don't notice those things because we're not tuned into it. When we stop tuning in to everything on that level, and we start tuning in to ourselves and the magnificence and the connection and stuff, you see things, your language, everything changes for your reality. But anyways, I believe that, we are already all space creatures to one another, and we all have the DNA that we have to come together. Just like with that Anunnaki book, this morning I put on Ancient Aliens, and it started talking about the what are those things? Praying mantises. And all the way back when I very first started this, I said, I think I'm part praying mantis. I feel so like when I was a kid, I was really into praying mantises, and I felt like I was one. And I even said, I think I got praying mantis DNA in me. So in this, it was saying some ancient civilization, Mayans or something, was talking about that we have praying mantis in us, and they have a whole folklore story about how it got there and stuff. But it would have been DNA with the advanced scientists that created us. So they used DNA of mantises, and I started thinking, actually you could have a mantis even be a slave. Like, we all think like that it was just monkeys, but they could have been doing a whole bunch of different ones. That could be why there's two types of man. There was some kind of a thing like a Neanderthal and another being. I can't, Homo sapien or something like that. Like, when my daughter was doing her archaeology, anthropology and stuff, we would talk about this. And then there was some kind of like they call it the hidden link. So they got parts that scientists don't even try and explain anymore, because their explanations are ludicrous. So anyways, that could be partly that there was some that they used to create slaves from apes, and some they used to create slaves from insects. Because if you think about, if the trees were so huge, and probably dinosaurs would have been there then, and they would have been tiny, praying mantises could have been huge. So they could have easily been, and they're smart. So I think it could have easily probably, developed and mixed, because they were mixing all this DNA with different things. But the DNA that it came from was also the creation of the Greys. That's what it was shown in Ancient Aliens. So, and we all have that DNA. And interesting enough, I said that in that Anunnaki book, it says that the Greys, the ones who have so much of that DNA, will hold them back because they're more shallow. And you think about all these different philosophies, like the Andromedas, the Syrians, the Palladians, the Greys, the Reptilians, like all of these different philosophies to existence. And they all have their particular... Stella, please stop. I get it. I know you're not happy. And, okay. Oh, some days, she's relentless. So, but I'm so excited for Saturday. But I'm probably not going to go down to Huntington, because there was a whole thing about getting her out of the car. But my brother's sick now. Probably 3 at least. He's a frontline worker, and he's a fireman, and now he is sick with the Dovik, and which Dovik, I didn't even know until I just saw somebody saying Dovik is some sort of demon being or something. You can look it up. Like, that's weird, because everything is mirrored backwards with them. And I wasn't saying it for that. I was just talking in code, so it was kind of creepy when I heard that. So anyways, he is so sick. He said his body hurts so bad that he might not be able to come. But I was like, well, that's probably better for me, because I couldn't even get her out of the car. The first day we stopped to go pee, she fell out of the car. She looked down and just fell out. Like, she was so dizzy. She just collapsed on the ground. And the first place we stopped was right on a main road, because all of those, when I was driving through those cities, it was a long ways of driving 35 miles an hour through these cities. So it was a little park, and we stopped, and it was on a road, and so she fell out. Oh my gosh, that one was a hard one. And then, so she got back in the car and stuff after she went out, and she didn't go potty or anything. Got her back in the car. Then, and I've been doing that cleanse, the diatomaceous earth, and gave her also some charcoal. Partly because I'm going to do it when we get back. I'm going to be really consistent, but I wanted her to already start her cleanse before we go into the treatments, because you got to continue the cleanses after to keep detoxing all of the chemicals out of your body. So I already got her started on that. But anyways, then we got to another place, and I went and pulled it back like it was school or something. I thought, I'll take her out on the side door, because she really needed to go to the bathroom. We went out, she pooped and pooped. She pooped 2 times. Like, I've never seen her do that. She had so much poop in her. And we were walking, but she fell out of the car again. She couldn't get out the side door either. She fell and collapsed onto the ground. And so after that, she would not get out of the car. So that was the first day. So that was Wednesday around, I don't know, 4 o'clock or something. She would not get out of the car after that. And every time I pull over, stop, I even had a rest area, how these women coming over, they were trying to help. She would not get out of the car. And I kept giving her water. It was like over 100 degrees. So I kept giving her water and stuff. She would not get out of the car, would not get out of the car. So then on that first night, I just crawled in the back with her and slept in the gas station parking lot. It was so uncomfortable, but I got a couple hours of sleep and got my eyes at least rested, because my eyes were just burning. And so, a couple hours of sleep. Then I got up at 3 and we took off again, because it was driving through, at 4. We took off again because we were, the gas station open. I went in and got a cup of tea, and then we had to drive through where it was going to be like 120 degrees. So it was like, fuck, I got to get an early start. So in the first part of the morning too, it was so freezing. It was 40 degrees. Think about that. It goes from 40 degrees to 110. That's fucking manufactured. It's fucking nonsense. They just want us to believe anything they tell us. It's a fucking Truman Show. So anyways, she, held it. Last night, I ended up I was getting so frustrated. I was so tired. I just wanted to go take a shower. Well, I wanted to take a bath, They didn't even have a stopper. I think this hotel is one where people can live at. You got to bring your own stuff or something. But it's totally jam-packed full. Like, it really is full, and it is close to the beach. I got to look it up still because I'm going to walk everywhere. I'm not putting her back in the car until we are going to the thing. So last night when I got here, it took me 2 hours at least to get her out of the car. And I picked her, I just ended up just manhandling her and just taking her out. And I put her bed on the ground so if she fell, at least she would fall onto that. But this is her grumpy ass attitude. This is like what I have to go through while I'm driving too. She'll do that stuff to me. And it's like, what do you want me to do? Especially, I'm not shitting you. Almost the entire drive, there was not rest areas. There was not places to pull over. Oh, there was road construction. You bet your ass there was road construction. And I'll tell you what, in Oregon, they are janky. They are janky. Like, oh God, I saw so much weird shit. So this one weird thing. So I was driving and I think this was Oregon, and it was these big rocky, please stop it, these big rocky mountains. And this particular part, we were going around, I was driving through mountain all the time. And so there was this cement wall. So there was only space for 2 cars to go through this part. And then there was these cement things. And then on this side was this big rocky mountain. So I'm going around this one turn and there was a fucking dead moose right there, just in the road. And it was like a baby dead moose. It was huge and dark brown and with those really long legs. Like you could see that part, the legs were out into the lane. And I was like, weird, what the hell? How did it even get here? Like, where in the hell did it come from? And how did it get hit like this? This is so weird. Will you stop, please? Then we go up a little bit further and there's a dead deer. And the same thing. It's like it slammed into the wall. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think they're either jumping off the cliff or falling off the cliff. And if they care so much, why aren't they putting safety measures up there? Like, this was weird. Like, especially people who are driving really fast or anything could easily, like, I'm not kidding, the animal was out in the road. In both cases, you had to go out in the other lane to get around it. And then, and who's going to stop on this road? There's nowhere to stop. For so long, there was nowhere to stop for hours and hours and hours. So my whole idea of like, oh, there'll be a little town and we'll just pull over and we'll go to sleep there. No, there was no place to stop. I was kind of pushed into putting 13 hours the first day. There was no place to go. And finally we got to that one little town and it was, let's see, I think it was around 10 o'clock at night is when we stopped. So we definitely drove, I think like 13 or 14 hours. And so I just decided I was going to get my room. I called and got my room for last night. And I thought, okay, so tomorrow I'm just going to get up early and just drive and just go and get there. And I had 14 hours to go, or 14 and a half. And I was determined to do it. So whatever, we went to bed, like, I don't know. I could barely get any sleep. It was really horrible in the car. But, it was better. And there was no hotels. I mean, there was no other choices. There was a little RV park, and I almost stopped there, but I saw a gas station up ahead, and I was so desperate to get gas. I was like, shit. And gas in California, I saw it for $7.29 or $7.69. And don't forget, who has invested in electric cars? So who's going to push hard? Like, oh, they'll be paying $10, Oh, they're just going to have to get themselves an electric car, right, Nancy? So it's fucking so much manipulation. It's so disgusting. But anyways, that was weird, where it seemed like these animals are just diving off of the thing. Is it the frequency? I saw towers out in the middle of nowhere, especially if there was one building that fucking had a tower with 20 of those things on it. And I saw so many that were next to fire departments sharing their parking lot with them. And what was another one? I think it was a water district, just so all being radiated the whole time. So there was a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. And the open range cows out there, I thought that was so weird. They just had cows, just wild cows apparently or something, just out. Instead of open ranging, you'd have these signs to watch for the cow crossing the road and stuff all the time, and they were all grazing right around the road. And then I was like, oh my gosh, so all these cows that are being, all these farmers and ranchers are going and taking their cows and turning them in because they can't afford the feed. So are the parasites loading them on trucks, bringing them out here, giving offerings to the gods? Or are they keeping their private stock? Like, and why are not all people being told, hey, just everywhere start taking cows out and we're gonna, you know, like, they don't do anything about telling people how to become independent. All they do is take away from them and make them dependent. And people have no idea how to take care of themselves. I'm going to tell this one story and then I'll do another tape because there was more stuff I wanted to say. But this one thing that I thought of too is because when I was younger, my dad was a hunter. He was a farmer and he was a hunter. And all of his brothers and everything, they all hunted. Then when they had my brothers, he started teaching them to hunt. As we got older, then it was like, you know, why would you go hunt? There's food in the stores. Like, why would you need to go out and kill something? And it started being like, oh, nobody wants to kill something. And I was always like, well, if I had to go out and kill my food, I wouldn't eat it. Like, I wouldn't be killing anything to eat it. So the convenience of a store, because killing something changes the game. So now, oh my goodness. Now I see it as, you know, they wanted us to become dependent like that. They didn't want us to go out and feed ourselves. And then plus, you know, it does give you a different connection when you're taking something's life away to feed your family or feed you, you know. And some people I know that there's hunters who just enjoy killing. They don't give a shit. But there is a purpose to the whole thing. And I was seeing like they take that away from people. My throat's getting scratchy. I'm gonna have to I'll go take her for a walk or something. But I will come back and record some more stuff because I have this room now until tomorrow at 11. So I'll do another recording. But anyways, I was just thinking, you know, that we played right into their hand. You know, I was sitting there thinking, you know, that's crazy to go kill something. Well, the whole point was to not rely on them for our food source, because now it's coming to slap us in the face. But it is all for a good purpose, because that's come to the surface now is, oh, all they were doing was feeding us poison. They were feeding us pink goo that, look it up if you want to know, it's disgusting. You know, they had to do something with all these little dead carcasses, right? These little ones that people always rip out of their womb because they have no connection to what life is or why they're here. And they think that they need to control their destiny. It's like, you're way off on what's going on here, dude. This isn't about trying to control. This is about relaxing into it. Experience what you're here to experience. But these women are trained into thinking like, oh, that's not convenient. Take rid of that. And then they feed it back to us. It's so disgusting. And then, and you know, their whole plan with just eating bugs. Like, what the hell, dude? We can go out and get bugs out of our yard. You really think we're going to pay you for bugs? You really think that? Like, it's just so absurd. It's so absurd at this point. But it's all to show us. Like, this is what you were relying on. Yeah, this is what these people are. Yeah, this is what you chose. You voted them in. You know, vote them in and then just go about our busy lives trying to survive, not paying a damn bit of attention that these people are, you know, making their reality is all about controlling ours. So anyways, I don't know what she's having a fit about, but there was some more stuff to tell about the trip. So I will come back and talk some more. But anyways, the update on her would be that I did get her out of the car. She's still whiny as hell, but she is walking much better, but she's still like one side of her is drooping. So I'm really hoping, because I don't know if I already told you, my daughter took her dog in to get his teeth cleaned. He has a grape-sized fruit tumor on his liver and has to start chemo. My brother has to start chemo now, and I was like, who makes money off of chemo? Who makes money off people being sick? Yeah. So, and you know, if she has some sort of, which I would think most people probably have some tumors and shit growing, that's what they've been doing to us, is trying to make us sick. And so if she does have something going on in her brain neurologically, why she's doing this kind of stuff, then the machine, all of the detoxing is going to start shrinking it. So anyways, I have big hopes for what's going to go down on by Sunday morning. So anyways, I'll go take her for a walk. But and so on my eyes, it's hard for me to judge right now, but even for my brain, I think just wearing this thing has already started helping, because when I was driving through the traffic and stuff, I wasn't panicking and overthinking. I felt a lot more in the flow. So, you know, I do think it is doing something to heal my brain. So you know, and I feel horrible that all these people are starting chemo, and it's like, it's more chemicals. The chemicals are not going to help. Damn. All they want to do is make money off of you being sick, and they're going to make you sicker to make more money. Then they're going to sell you anti-nausea. Then they're going to sell you the pot pills. It's like, oh my God, people, go natural. Trust in what you are, in the creation of all things. And we have all of the cures out there, natural cures. And this frequency stuff, it's just like, it's hard to see people who don't see the truth. It's hard to watch. And it's very hard to, you know, be standing banging on the window and nobody's looking except for to go like, oh, did you see this crazy lady over here? Oh, crazy woman. So I don't care, you know, call me crazy. All I want to do is save some lives. So anyways, I'll be back and I'll tell some more about the trip. I'll talk to you later. Bye.